We are live. Hello and welcome everybody. This is Max Comusi, your life and business coach. And today we talk about big resignation or a big attraction. I have today with me, I'm really honored and really excited to have Sofia Aluko to be with me in this conversation. Sofia, how are you today?
I'm doing really well and very delighted to be here. Thank you for the intro, Max.
Fantastic. Sophia, I know you do many things, but what is your latest title that you want to share with this crowd?
Absolutely. So, alongside my day job, I'm also a founder of the Steer Network. A Steer Network is a career development organization which has been set up to empower you to fulfill your career ambition. So, this topic on great resignation or great attraction is really topical. I'm really delighted to share my views.
Fantastic. You are on a very big mission. So let's bring your experience in the mix. So topic again, big resignation or big attraction. I would like to unpack. It's a really wide area from place of our own experience, what we see Sophia and I in our own industries. So in my coaching practice, what I saw really in the last 5 months, an increase of I have mature professionals that are looking for career change and they're looking for purpose. I see corporate professionals, especially asking for more flexibility in their own terms. Also, young people feeling the need to be looked after their organization. So beyond purpose, they want also to grow, and they ask that to their employers. And finally, what I see SME, small businesses struggling to find the talents. They really struggle to find and recruit people that will serve their own business. So that's my experience. Sophia, what do you see on your side?
Sure. I think those are really great points, Max. And I think what I'm seeing in terms of my practice, people that come to speak to me for coaching or for mentoring, and this range from people that in early career stage up until professionals that have had 20 plus years experience. I think one thing that I think is important to mention here that is the great resignation is not a temporary shift. Actually, I know that it started from the US, where the US government tracks the quit rate, but we're seeing that in the UK as well, right? So we see, in terms of the numbers that have been reported, that redundancies are at the lowest since the mid 90s. And that's quite something. And the number of open vacancies are at an all-time high, right? So these are not anecdotal information. This is what's really happening. Now, in terms of the experience of those that I coach and I mentor, similar trends to what you're saying in your practice, Max. And people are really looking for purpose and meaning, in particular the younger generations. And I think purpose and meaning is a really big topic, but which we can't fully cover during this call. But I think we can explore on what purpose and meaning is, Max, at some point. But I think
Yeah.
also in terms of flexibility, right? So the majority of people that have worked during the pandemic who worked remotely have risen up to the challenge, right? Overnight, we were working in a certain way, and then we were asked to all work remotely. And people rose up to the challenges. People were working from their kitchen desk. People that didn't have a space or were living in shared accommodation had to turn their room into their office just overnight, literally. That was big, right? And I think we need to recognize that impact on people. In a sense, I think I could say that we were in some type of war. It was just that we didn't have the physical the physical battle of war to show, but there are the mental scars, and people are really using this opportunity to ask themselves, what's my purpose? What is my job fulfilling that purpose? I think another trend which I'm seeing, Max, which is contributing to this is we in pre-pandemic, work was a place where we go to. It was a physical location, right? And it was a job. So if you didn't really like your job or you didn't really get along with your boss, you can leave that behind at 5 or 6 p.m., jump on the train, go back to your family. You sort of like temporarily leave that behind. But now work is in our homes, right? So
Yeah.
the work life or personal life has blended so much that we are really asking ourselves these questions, which you can say are existential to an extent, right? Around purpose and meaning. So for me, that's one of the key things. I think people are also looking for inclusion. And what do I mean by inclusion? It means that they want to feel included. They want to know that their opinions matter and they can be themselves at work, right? You can be yourself. You don't have to put on a certain covering, act in a certain way, speak in a certain way to be accepted. People want to be their authentic self. And that is not a trend. This is something that is set to continue. And employers that are seeing this will definitely be in a position to retain those talents and attract them. Another thing I'm saying is really about um, connecting to the bigger agenda. So whilst we've talked about a bit about purpose and meaning, but what employees are looking for as well is how does my role, what I do day to day, how does that connect to the bigger agenda of my organization? So the so there are lots of things. For me, if I summarize that, Marx is around purpose and meaning, is around flexibility in terms of where they work and how they work, connecting to the bigger agenda of the organization. We want to feel included and also to prioritize the well-being, given the mental scars from the pandemic of the past couple of years. So I'm just going to pause there.
Yeah, I think so many things I was writing down on my piece of paper here. So many hyperlinks, as I call them. But I wanted really first to pick up your acknowledgement, to the collective effort everybody did overnight and bringing work in their home under difficult circumstances, once in a lifetime. It's not once in a generation. This is once in a lifetime challenge. And collectively, I think we can say we did it. We all contributed overnight. We leaped, but we didn't walk. We leaped over fire. It's a recognition. This is important because also I think collectively all the employees have earned a new level of respect, and it's a good position to claim a different space. Where you say flexibility, looking after well-being, mental health, meaning and purpose. It's not about being difficult. Here is about taking the quality of work to a different level. So many things, Sophia. What can people actually do in order to really come forward and ask their employers to take steps, and what steps that could be?
Yeah, so I think the obvious answer,
The big
which is
question.
why we're having this discussion, Marx, is around
Yeah.
quitting, right? People are quitting. That's what people are doing. But I think there's more that we can do, employees can do, other than quitting, right? Because again, if we step back, as you said earlier on, this is a once in a lifetime, right? Not even a generation, once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
And we are learning as we're going. There isn't a playbook or a rule book that you can bring out and then, take 1, 2, 3 steps and then you solve the problem. So what I'm saying is that a lot of employers do not have the answers. And I think a lot of them are also open to say, we don't have the answers. We want to listen. We want you to contribute your ideas in terms of what we can do to adapt to this new world that we found ourselves, right? And some organizations are starting to explore hybrid working, which I think resonates with people. But again, there's still that bit where employees are saying that we want to choose when we go to the office, right? So even within the hybrid construct, people still want flexibility. So other than quitting, what should you do? I would encourage employees to speak up.
Speak up.
And speak up it's fearful, right? It's not really easy. In particular, if you're in an environment where you are trying to say push against the established way of doing things, against set traditions, right? It's not an easy thing at all. And So you'll be fearful. And I think it's right for you to feel the fear, right? So with speaking up, it requires a level of courage. And again, one thing I would say about courage for the listeners here is courage isn't about the absence of fear. You're only human, you're going to feel the fear. But I think it's about sitting with the fear and pushing through the fear and still doing what you know is right. Okay, so we talked earlier on about employees searching for meaning and for purpose. Now, if you know within your heart, within yourself, that the approach that my organization is taking doesn't resonate with my myself in terms of my personal circumstances or my purpose, or even with the collective voice of employees within the organization, I think you owe it to yourself and even to your employer as well to speak up. And there are different ways you can do this, right? You can speak up in a respectful way. So given the fact what I said earlier on, that employers recognize that they don't have all the answers and they are seeking for solutions and ideas, go with that mindset that I'm contributing to solving a problem that we all don't know the answers to, but that we can test and learn and experiment so that as situations evolve, we will find the right answers that suits us and that helps the organization to retain its very best and also attract new talents.
Yeah, dialogue. I think what you just described is a continuous conversation that has to happen in the workplace between employers and employees. I really liked the point you said. Look, employees are learning as we go. It is fine to say we don't know, we don't have all the answers, and that is to be accepted. It's kind of place of vulnerability, even for senior management. That it's okay to share. This is the new world of corporation, of major organizations. It's fine for seniors to say we don't know. Let's open up the conversation rather than having this kind of blunt instrument.
Absolutely.
2 days a week in the office, no matter what. It's ridiculous.
I think so. I think so. And how
Totally
could you know?
ridiculous.
Yeah, and Max, how could you know? No one has lived through this before, right? So acting as though you have the answers is, I don't think any respectful organization should do that, right? Because we really don't know.
No, we don't. So I think vulnerability from both sides is important, but also there's the place that you said that comes from the heart. After all this hardship, the mental scars, mental health, and bringing again once more, as you said, work in our homes. I think it's that must give courage to everybody to speak up for our well-being. Yes, performance. There need to be growth, innovations, all the stuff in the workplace, but need to be integrated with our own well-being because it's not sustainable what we did, and those mental scars will take time to heal. So
Absolutely.
speaking up is from a place of convictions, but also from a place of compassion, and from both sides is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the point you're making there around compassion is that empathy, right? Empathy for what we've all been through collectively, and empathy that we don't know the answers, but that we also owe it to ourselves to speak up and contribute to solving this big challenge that we all face.
Empathy seems to make business sense. It's not just touchy-feely things, feeling here, there, or in there. It seems to be a new language that needs to be implemented to do business.
Absolutely, absolutely, Max. And I think, the way I see empathy is this, right? You're right, it's beyond being touch and feely. But I think when you have empathy, you are able to understand the perspective of the other person, right? You are, in a sense, working in their shoes. You can't fully understand 100%, but you are putting yourself in their place and trying to step into their world in terms of how do they see things, what's their perspective. And I think that plays a huge role in influencing others, right? Because again, as we've said, that's applying a blunt instrument. Those days are past from my perspective. And if you really want to influence people, you need to have a certain sense of empathy for their circumstances, their situation, to be able to really influence them so that they can fulfill the corporate goals that you've set set up.
It's all about connection at the end of the way. We are humans and we need to put the people again absolutely at the center of our organizations. You have clients, you have teams, you have stakeholders. It's all people. We have to remember that. And and I think also there's another point on talents, because we're talking about retaining talents, hiring talents. But for me, what is really striking in during this pandemic is that we got talent. I see talents everywhere. The power of the collective, how we came through really together through this difficult times, and every single individual contributed to a level that we've never seen before. I see talent 100% across our organizations, regardless gender, level of experience, you name all the diversity, inclusion, age. I see I had a comment from Lucy Standing. She does an incredible job for keeping people over 50 and employed, but also for creating new careers. So I think also having more mature professionals retained in the organization is key. So it's a completely rethinking of where we are. But I like the idea to see the whole workforce as an immense pool of talents, not just that 20% or whatever percentage is, smaller subset of people that will drive the organization forward.
Absolutely. I think that's a good point. What I say is talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. Yeah, it's the opportunity that isn't everywhere. So talent is everywhere. You have to really cast your net wide and look more up for potential, right? Because again, what I hear and what I see is the future is here, right? And what we experience post-pandemic is different to what we have now. So looking at talent, the same old way where you're looking at a job specification and looking for someone that ticks all the box perfectly, I don't think that's right. I think one of the key skills that employers need today, and even employers need to look for and employees need to have, is adaptability. I think if an employee can demonstrate that they've been adaptable, and I think all of us actually have demonstrated that skill through this pandemic, I think most of us, right? So I think that's a key skill that we need for today and we need for tomorrow. And from that perspective, you're spot on. Talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't.
Adaptable. There's a big resonance that word, because everybody has to be adaptable. Employers, employees, everybody. And we need to use that adaptability that has been shown for the last 2 years, and now we needed to use it for moving our life and work in a completely new direction. Sophia, so many things that we put in place. I would like to recap, if we can bring all together in terms of what can be done. What are the key directions? Again, maybe we might repeat some of the messages, but it's nice to bring into kind of bottom line individuals and employers too, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think we'll start with the employers, and some of it may be may sound like we are repeating something that we've said, but I think it's for a good reason. For employers, I would say trust and empower your employees.
Yes.
Employees have worked remotely for the past 2 years, and their reports have actually shown that productivity has improved as a result. So trust them to make decisions on work that is closest to them. I think that's hugely important, because when employers operate with trust, I think people recognize that, people appreciate that, and they want to contribute their very best because they know that they're trusted to deliver, trusted to do their work, and they're also empowered as well. Because to empower someone, you have to trust them that they will deliver and they won't let you down. And I think employees have shown over the past couple of years that they can be trusted to work remotely without anyone physically surveying, without a physical surveillance to see if they're actually turning up to work, right? And with productivity improving, that tells me that people can be self-directed, and employers should really tap into that. Another thing
the self, sorry, but just to put the access on the self-direction. This is where the trust really comes. You give it to the individuals or teams to decide on how they want to get organized, because they demonstrated that they are clearly the outcome focused and they deliver for the business. So
Absolutely,
that is big
absolutely.
trust.
And you're right. And I think clearly for really big organizations and is a lot more challenging, right? Because you need that hierarchy to organize work, but it's how you operate within that hierarchy. That flexibility is what we're talking about here. Clearly, if you're a small organization, self-directed teams, very easy to do it. Within large, complex organizations where you have tens and thousands of people, it's a lot more difficult. So you have your hierarchy and it's there for a certain purpose, but it's how you operate within that hierarchy, giving that flexibility, empowering your colleagues is what would make a difference from my perspective.
Yeah, and I think I would like again to pick up one point for me is biggest courage. We've been very courageous in the wide possible sense for the past 2 years. We need to keep the courage. I wouldn't like to see employees to go back to small step by steps or timid, hesitant, reluctant progress on policies and changes. I think if there's one thing that we learn is we needed to leap and not just walk over what matters, and that requires a lot of courage. So let's keep up the courage in place. That would be my call really for employers. Self-directed production, trust, empowering teams, productivity, dialogue, empathy, mental health. I think that is important. I think we scratch
one more thing to add to that, Max, is around line management. Because we have people leaders, right? And I think sometimes organizations assume that when you have reached a certain level of skills, you should be able to manage people. And I think leadership sometimes it comes naturally for some people. For a great number of people, it doesn't come to them. So, but it's a skill, it can be learned. So I think organizations at this time really need to coach their people leaders and their line managers to lead with empathy, to care more with deeper connections to employees. Because again, we've heard that people quit managers, right? They don't quit their jobs, they quit their managers to look for something else. So leadership and line managers have a crucial and critical role to play in this period. And I think really coaching them to really be that leader that would help to navigate the challenges that we face today is hugely important and would really help to turn that great resignation to great attraction.
Yeah, I think over the years in my corporate career, I saw there's a lot of training on technical skills, that not that much on what we call soft skills, but are human skills. There is anything between connections and empathy, being courageous, speaking the truth. Self-management. I can go on and on, of course, from a coaching perspective. This is what I do, but I believe these are the qualities that people, all of us, have inside, and we don't need a massive training. It's not you need to go on a 2 years course to get really on the road. This is, in my opinion, we trust and pointing in the right direction, so people will step up very quickly. Line manager can grow in the role very quickly if they are framed in terms of expectations, what is expected from them in terms of managing people on a day-to-day basis. They can make progress very, very quickly on the ground. So that is very important, because that is the glue. Line management is the glue of the organization.
Indeed.
Wow. I'm just looking if there's any questions. So we are in the final minutes of this talk. Just looking at the Q&A, please. This is time. If you have any question for me or Sophia, please just post it. We are watching this space. From our perspective, Sophia, how do you bring all this knowledge in your mentoring? Is there a constant review of the contents of the mentoring, or the way you run your mentoring groups to respond to the existing challenges?
You know what? For me, again, I don't have all the answers, right? So I do a lot of mentoring circles where we have people with similar questions and similar support needed, and I see myself as the orchestrator, if you like, bring people together and then collectively really distill some of the questions or challenges that they have, reflect on them, and then look at possible options in terms of what you could explore, what you could try to solve a specific challenge. So a lot of the things I've said in here today around what employers could do and what employees could do, there's the discussions that come up in our mentoring circles. And again, given that there's no playbook, there isn't a scripted answer, and each situation and each circumstance is different. But there's a range of options that you can tap into, which suits your personal needs and your personal circumstances.
Thank you for answering. I put you on the spot. This was not one of the scripted questions that we sort of discussed before this call. So I really appreciate your honesty. It seems like, I had this idea that mentoring should be a transferable experience, like Harry Potter, magic wand from one person to another. But it's not like that. What you just celebrated is, I don't know, is a win.
Mm.
Let's put our ideas on the table and see collectively in the mentoring circles how we can resolve this challenge. And what I found personally in my coaching, especially with young people in their early 20s, that they are about to leave a university and transition to work, or they're looking for a job, actually listening to young people is very important. And if we start from a position that we don't know, and we are curious to listen to the needs and the ask of the young generations, we have so much to learn. For instance, being authentic is one of the items that I get back from this kind of reverse coaching that happens in my practice. I go in as a coach, but I get sometimes coached in the same session by these wonderful individuals, young people that are incredible.
Absolutely, Mike. Max, sorry, it's the same with me as well, right? You go in as a mentor with more experience, but you actually learn a lot. And some of the questions also that they ask, they're very intriguing, and it just makes you pause and reflect, right? So one question really that I keep hearing from time to time, and Max, I'm going to pose this to you if you don't mind. Actually, it's my time to play back and put you on the spot now.
Absolutely, go for it.
What's your take on purpose and meaning, and what's the one or two things that you would advise or coach people on to find their purpose and meaning?
I think there are purpose and meaning in this stage they have it's like an onion. And no, you don't have to cry necessarily as you go and peel it, but it's quite complex. You definitely you need to start from yourself. That is number one. And if you're not in a place that you know what it matters to you, is you can't think any wider. You cannot save the world. So start from yourself. And what I see, especially in young people, they take so much responsibilities for the world, for climate change, for everything that's happening right now on the shoulders. That's the future. But I think as a starting point, start from personal meaning, and then you go out in circles around your environment, your reality, and then you go as wide as possible to save the planet. Aligning your personal purpose to the organization is very important, and that's what I see young people, they demand, otherwise they will not get motivated. So that's what I it's very important to be honest and open up about your values. If you don't tell people what you believe in, they will not know. We can, no, people, employees cannot guess. So it's very important not just to accept the values from the company, but also to speak up, as we said before, and share in a very authentic way the way the young people know what they expect, because that will have an influence. It goes in circles. So in a nutshell, I went a little bit around. Very, very long answer, but for me is discovery, but is then being open and share who you are and have the courage to share it with your world, because it would be amazing the impact that you have by doing so.
Fabulous, fabulous. I like that. Starting from the internal first, doing your introspection to find out your values, what's important to you, what you've been put here to do, and then connecting that with the external. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you start me off. We don't have time, otherwise I will go on and on. This was an incredible question. Thank you, Sophia, for your insight. Thank you for playing live with me today and really speaking from a place of heart and convictions. It was a real pleasure and honor. Thank you, Sophia.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, Max.
All the best. Thank you, everybody, for listening and staying with us today. And goodbye. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.